Romanian TV has a lot more subscribers than I do, so, you know, I'd be interested in talking to him about it. I think that we could have an honest conversation about it, hopefully. He's a healthcare provider, I'm a healthcare provider. We're from different countries, but, you know, I think we could at least come to a few agreements here. So, I don't know. If he sees this, hit me up. We'll talk about it. Do racists deserve healthcare? It is a question for the ages. Now, if you want my personal opinion on it before we get started with the segment, I believe that everybody deserves healthcare regardless of your views. I don't believe that anybody should be like left with, you know, dying with cancer. Unless, like, I'm sure if you paint some kind of weird hypothetical, like Hitler gets cancer, do you cure him? And if you cure him, he like kills 6 million more Jews. Like, of course, okay, like let's be reasonable. But in general, my principle is you get healthcare regardless of your religious views, your political views, whatever. It doesn't matter. You get healthcare. Everybody gets healthcare as a baseline, period, end of story. It's a human right, is my point. This guy, Romanian TV, has a video that is called Racists May Be Denied Healthcare in the UK. And I'm interested in this because, like I just said, I believe even racists deserve healthcare. I want to get a little bit of a read on this guy. I provide a Romanian, hopefully entertaining take on recent events that are going on. I mean, not too much to look into there, but it's fine. So he is a VTuber, which I like the avatar. That's a unique one. I kind of like it. This, by the way, was a video request. So in case you're wondering why I found this guy, how I found him, this was a video request from the Discord. And you too can request videos if you go to the Discord channel in the YouTube description below, or if you're in side chat, you can type !Discord, get there that way. And you can leave a suggestion in content suggestions, the channel. So this is from content suggestions. I want to go over it because it strikes me as something that is going to be right wing. My guess is that it's not actually going to be against racists getting healthcare, but like from what I can see right here, probably putting people into a dangerous situation. I'm not sure. I'm gonna give this guy the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to just, on my baseline, agree that racists do in fact deserve healthcare. Let's see what's going on.
You know, when I finished med school, I took an oath, and I don't remember which part of the oath told me not to take care of racists.
That is true.
Like, it included everyone. Yeah, like as a doctor, I have to take care of everyone, even...
Is he a right-winger? The only reason you would upload a video like this is if you're a right-winger or you're like a leftist who's trying to do like, who's trying to be like contrarian. So those are the two options.
Communists, believe it or not, and racists, and everyone else. But I guess like they may have a new oath in the United Kingdom because they're so advanced than us. They're a very prosperous nation.
I kind of love his avatar.
You know, their culture is more advanced than that of the rest of the world. I remember seeing movies, and this is a theme that you get to see in video games as well. It's
unique, I like it.
Where it's about the war, whether it's like World War I or World War II, and one of the doctors decides to help people from the enemy lines, even though, like, your own soldiers are angry and they're upset, because, like, oh, well, our soldiers are needing treatment, why are you helping the enemy? And that's like viewed as not a very complicated moral dilemma because like the doctor is seeing everyone as human and they're helping everyone.
I agree with that so
far.
But
again, like this is outdated mentality. This is shit that we need to get rid of. This is backwards thinking. Instead, we need to look at...
What does this say? If you find yourself in a situation where you consider you may have to withdraw your care, you should consider your rationale for taking such action very carefully. The following situations may justify a refusal to treat, the withdrawal of care, or finding of an alternative. Now, here's the thing. You're entitled to health care, okay? And you also do take an oath. Sorry, people are entitled to healthcare, and you take an oath that that healthcare is a human right. So the only reason that you should refuse healthcare to people as a healthcare provider is if they literally tell you, I don't want it from you, or they're impeding your ability to treat them somehow, okay? So it's complicated. It's complicated. But a person who is racist does deserve healthcare, okay? And as a healthcare provider, you take an oath to provide that. So I don't think that somebody should be turned away just because they're racist, even if like somebody who's black is treating them. Now, that black person can say, hey, is there anybody else who can treat them? Like, am I literally the only person? You know, I think that's fine. I think it's reasonable for the healthcare institution to say, okay, well, that person is racist against you. Let's find somebody else that can go in there that they're not racist against, at the very least. I think that the healthcare institution has a right to that healthcare worker's safety and comfort, okay? But that's an institutional problem, right? So it's complicated, but I do think that, like, if you have a hypothetical situation where the only available worker is a black healthcare worker and the patient happens to be racist, I do think that the priority is, depending on the level of care, of course. Like, let's say that they have a life-threatening situation. The priority is, yes, you have to save their life. You have to treat them. Yes, you took that oath.
How the United Kingdom is doing things. And apparently the appropriate way, the equitable way, is that everyone pays taxes, right? A lot of those taxes go to the NHS. So if you're a racist...
Yeah, not a right to a specific worker when you're harassing them. True. I think there comes a point, exactly what I said, right? If you are harassing a worker to the point that they literally cannot perform their job, that person no longer has the obligation to treat you. The issue is the patient may be physically refusing healthcare from the minority person. Yes, that's probably closer to what's going on here, right? If you're literally refusing care from a person because they're a minority and the institution doesn't have anybody else available to treat you, then you have now withdrawn care. You've withdrawn care because the institution told you. Like, I don't think that the institution is obligated either. Like, I don't think that there should be an obligation for the institution to go get a white person just because somebody, like, demands it. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's tricky. It's complicated. I'm still trying to figure it out in my head. I haven't really thought about it too much. But I think the person deserves care, but they can't also then pick and choose, like, whether or not their caretaker is white. How common is it for old dudes to refuse care even from female doctors? Probably pretty common, right? This is complicated. I love the pillow in the background. Thank you. It's complicated.
You still pay. It's just that you may not get treatment, right? And this is equitable. Like, this is normal. See, in any other situation, we would call it theft. But, like, if it's the government doing it, then I guess it's very progressive.
If they're refusing care from the minority doctor, it's kind of on them. Yeah, that's fair. I think if you refuse care from somebody just because they're a minority, that you have refused care. I think that's fair. Thank you.
So listen to this. This is what they posted, and it's got like a big red as well. This is from the Royal College of Nursing, which updated its guidelines so that patients could be denied treatment if they are perceived to be racists. Withdrawing care. If you find yourself in a situation where you...
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Let me go back.
Guidelines so that patients could be denied treatment if they are perceived to be racists. Withdrawing care. If you find yourself in a situation where you consider you may have to withdraw care, you should consider your rationale for taking such actions very carefully, right? So, like, the onus is on you. I would like to point out that even prisoners get care. Like, this was never even some level of debate. Like even in the United States where you have...
Sure, but prisoners, like, aren't being racists and saying, I'm not accepting care from you because you're black. Like, if you say... I'm not accepting care from you because you are black, you don't then get a white doctor, okay? If you refuse care from somebody on the basis of them being black... Now, if they're, like... Now, sometimes what people will do instead is work around it and be like, well, my doctor isn't providing me the care that I want. That's a little bit trickier, right? If they're doing it on a racist principle. But if you are specifically saying, like, on a racist principle, I'm not accepting care from you because you're black, I'm sorry, like, you've denied care. You've said that the care, like, that's your choice. You have said that the care is not worth somebody who is black treating you. If someone continually insulted me, well, if I were a doctor trying to treat them, I would quit. I mean, yeah, you can quit. But, like, there is a certain level of duty that you have, even if somebody's treating you poorly as a doctor. Like, it'd be like, I don't want to compare it to a child because a child has way less, agency. But I don't. It's tricky. Like I said,
like some of the worst monsters ever.
This seems pretty reasonable.
That are waiting death row. Even they get.
Yeah, let's read over it. Let's just read over it. Where there exists or is fear of physical violence, that seems reasonable. Where there's discriminatory behavior, including racism, that also seems reasonable to me. Simply because if you're trying to say, I want a different caretaker because this one's black and I want a white caretaker, that's refusing care. You're refusing care. Where there are health and safety hazards, examples, lack of appropriate equipment. Yeah, that's also fair, because that can also cause harm to the healthcare provider. Like, healthcare providers are not obligated to give you care at the risk of their own safety, is the bottom line. Where the care is required, is outside the scope of competence or training. Also reasonable. Conscientious objection, also reasonable. Client/patient is known to you in a personal capacity. That seems reasonable. Where you are asked to do something unlawful or in breach of the nursing and midwifery council. Yeah, I think that's all fair. This seems reasonable to me. Like, you would really have to delve into the nitty-gritty to get into situations that are like, okay, you literally have like a black doctor and a person who is like being racist against that black doctor, and in ways in which the black doctor literally cannot care for the patient anymore. You know, like at a certain point, after a certain point, you are refusing care. So yes, there are situations where it can get tricky, but I think this baseline is fine. And if you get mad at this, you're kind of just probably a racist. If you refuse care, your death is on you. Yeah, I agree.
Care. Even the people at Guantanamo, if I'm not mistaken, even they, right? Like everybody would get care.
But they're not
because,
refusing
again,
care.
It's the moral concept that regardless of what you do, regardless of how you behave, you're still a human being and you're still worthy of rights.
Let's put it this way. If you refuse care to somebody because they are a known racist, you can't do that. You can't do that, okay? If they are literally being racist toward you while you are caring for them, yeah, you can refuse care. I think that's fine. Up to a certain point, I think that's fine. Okay? You know, that person still needs care. And there are situations where, like, I'll give you an example. There was one time an old person was like, he had dementia and he was being like giga racist. He was saying like the N-word, right? To nurses' aides. Like he was literally calling them the N-word. And somebody had to intervene. You know, somebody had to come in and tell the family, like, listen, he's being racist. And after a certain point, we have to, like, we're going to have to withdraw care if you can't get it under control, you know, or take him to some place that can accommodate him. So there should be interventions for sure. You should still strive to give that person the care they need. I don't know. Like, you have to still give them the care without capitulating to their racism. That's the bottom line.
But the following situation may justify...
Could someone ask or request, but not request, but inquire for a different doctor based on racism? I've considered asking if I could have a female therapist because I don't necessarily feel it's heard with men. I think that between men and women, it's different. I think that if you're more comfortable, like just because of gender norms and stereotypes and whatever, if you're more comfortable with a male doctor as a male person or a female doctor as a female person, that's understandable just because there's like such a distinct divide right now. I would love for that to break down. Like I said, that's also complicated, but I think that's fair. As far as racially, no, I don't think that's fine. I don't think it's fine to capitulate to that. It's about who you'd be more comfortable with, and it's mental therapy. So you want to be as comfortable as possible. Yeah, I think that's different, Lady Nova. We'll see what he has to say about it.
Treat the withdrawal of...
Okay, sorry. Before I let him continue, my stance on it is this. How do I want to word this? The default should be that the person gets care regardless of their past actions. Once that person is making it too difficult for you to care for them, you can refuse them care. They have now refused care. If they are being racist to you in a way that you simply cannot handle, you can refuse them care. And that's up to you to decide. You can say, listen, they're making my job to care for them too difficult, okay? So I think that's fine.
The following situation may justify a refusal to treat, the withdrawal of care, or finding of an alternative. I wonder, you see, there are certain patients that once you start giving them care, you can't actually withdraw the care. Because you're...
Shouldn't you set them up with some other accommodation? You have to weigh that. Like, let's say that, like, how do you even do that? How would you? Because after a certain point, you're just saying, yes, it's fine that you're racist. You know, like, after a certain point, it's like, well, you've already denied one of our doctors specifically on the basis of race. So, like, I really don't know. He sounds like a parody voice of D.O. of I Do For Fun. He's like a Doofenshmirtz type of voice, a little bit. I don't know. If anybody has a good answer for this, let me know.
You're doing them more harm than good? But anyway.
It's tricky. I'm not going to pretend like I know the answer.
So what is the withdrawing or care? Where there exists...
I missed so much. Let me go back.
To treat, the withdrawal of care, or finding of an alternative. I wonder, you see, there are certain patients that once you start giving them care, you can't actually withdraw the care. Because you're doing them more harm than good? But anyway.
That's probably true.
So what is the withdrawing or care? Where there exists or there is fear of physical violence. Yeah, that doesn't stop the hospitals in Eastern Europe. Like we had in the hospital a lot of people that were alcoholic, or even people on drugs, right? And once they stay in the hospital and they don't get their fix, whether it's like the wine that they're drinking or whether it's the drugs, like they become very violent and agitated. You call the cops, they chain them to the bed, and you keep
the platypus.
This is just an excuse. Like,
you call the cops.
They chain them to the bed, and you keep treating.
I wouldn't call the cops. I would call a paramedic and say, well, I guess if you're in the hospital already, like you wouldn't call a paramedic, but like you would call, I think the cops are bad people to call for healthcare intervention. We're trained as nurses how to restrain people. You do a 5-person restraint, each person on one limb and then one person on the head. And then you restrain them however you need to keep them from committing any violence. And then you get an order from the doctor for restraints. You don't need to involve the cops. The only reason you'd involve the cops is if you're lazy and you don't want to get a doctor's order. Like, that's literally the only reason. So he's wrong on this.
This is just an excuse. Like, the NHS, which is paid a lot more than Romanian hospitals, should find a way to treat even people that are violent.
But if he's in Romania, then I guess they have different rules there.
And by the way, I would like to point out that
it's wrong. I still disagree with it.
People who committed atrocities, like even people who did mass shootings and if they went to a hospital, no one would say that they shouldn't get treated. But like, this is a new thing. This is a new concept.
Yeah, but if they're in the process, okay. So if you have somebody who's in the process of trying to commit a violent crime against a doctor, yeah, that doctor can refuse them care after a certain point. Yes, either that or restrain them. You know, I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. Can a doctor if you're working? Okay, so if you're not trained as a doctor to take care of somebody who's having a psychiatric break, then you can deny that person care for a specific reason, like for that specific reason. But if you are trained to, treat somebody with a psychiatric break, like you're a psychiatric doctor, then you can't deny care just because somebody's having a psychiatric break and trying to commit violence. Like, there are steps you can take to keep that person from committing violence so that you can treat them. If they're literally saying to you, I'm denying care, I'm of sound mind and I'm denying care, then you can't take care of them. And there is a point where like you literally have to say that they're not capable of making good decisions for themselves. A racist can make good decisions for themselves. If they're committing violent acts, they're probably not of sound mind. So you would still care for them because they don't know what's good for themselves. A racist usually does.
That I'm hearing of. I'm not saying
it's a matter of being of sound mind.
History, but again, like as a person who finished med school here in Eastern Europe, where we're a little bit more backwards and we don't think as progressively, it's astonishing to me. It's like you can't find a way to treat someone that you're afraid of physical violence. Like what? Do handcuffs not exist? You can't sedate them? Like, what is the problem exactly? Where there is discriminatory behavior.
Yeah, but that's restraint. That's also chemical restraint. This is all restraint. So you have to get like a doctor's order for a restraint and sometimes even a court order. Okay, there's a process for these things. If somebody is being violent towards you because they don't want care and you keep trying to give them care, you don't just automatically restrain them. You have to get an order from the doctor. Otherwise, discharge them. If they're of sound mind, they might be violent towards you because like you're trying to force care onto them. Like if they're of sound mind. I don't know, like this, you aren't painting a very good scenario is my point.
Behavior, including racismus. Oh, so you can't be racist back towards him. Is that it? You can't have nurses that know how to shit talk. Again, in Eastern Europe, we do not have this concept. Like if you have someone that's racist towards the staff can just stop talking to them. Or usually they talk back. And again, like if
I know I said earlier that like there is a level there, and to be clear, there is a level of shit that you sometimes have to take as a healthcare worker, okay? Regardless of your race or whatever. But I think that if you can make a clear case that this person is being like if you're I'm not a person of color, so I can't speak for them, but in my head, if there is a clear-cut case of somebody being too racist toward you and you can make that case, then I think after, like I said, after a certain point, it would be fine to not have that person care for them.
If they commit the crime, like
honestly, like you're making the process more difficult for yourself if you're being racist. You're just making it more difficult.
It is possible, right? If you're committing a crime, the police comes in, they give them a fine, or they arrest them, and then they take them to a medical facility
only so much
that's
they can
charged
take, right?
by the police, right? Like there are certain hospitals where criminals get
only
treated,
so much they should be
still get
required
treated.
to take.
So they're going to be handcuffs to the bed, or sedated, or whatever is needed, and then they treat them. What is this that? Oh my goodness.
My guess would be that in a lot of places in Eastern Europe, they probably don't have very good health care. That's just my guess. I don't know for sure, but if they're handcuffing people to the beds without a doctor's order, it's probably not that great.
See, he's speaking, he's got a potty mouth, and he's insulting the staff.
There you go, Sergeant
Whatever
Fletch.
can
Congrats.
we do? How can we do? No, we're not going to treat. It's ridiculous. Where there are health and safety hazards, lack of appropriate equipment. The NHS have lacks of appropriate equipment. Just how much money do you need so you have the appropriate equipment? Like, this is what I don't get. So, like, you're telling me that in a situation like COVID, right? And you don't have the appropriate equipment, like you don't have masks. Like, let's say another.
Okay, yeah, if I'm a doctor and somebody has airborne illness like tuberculosis, and I don't have PPE, I should not be required then to go in and care for that person with tuberculosis. I would be putting myself at risk. I'm fine with this one. There's nothing wrong with, like, that's stupid. That'd be like telling somebody you're required to jump in and save that person who's drowning in the river, even if you might also drown. That's stupid. You both just die.
Pandemic comes along, right? And you don't have the equipment, you don't have
There's
masks,
a reason
you don't
that one
have
exists.
You as a doctor choose not to go? Are you sure? But that's very weak, because here in Eastern Europe, like,
no, it's not.
No problem. Like, they went even without equipment. Unless
yeah,
like
and a bunch of them got
of
sick, I'm sure.
You know, like something like.
Okay, I'm glad we can at least
yeah,
agree
sure,
on that.
You need protective equipment that you actually don't have, but like, if that's the case, like, why are you telling this to the patient? Like, the patient can't do anything about it. Like, if I get...
You're telling it to the patient because you're explaining to the patient why they're not getting care. We're not caring for you because we don't have the equipment available. That's their right to know that. What are you talking about? Of course you would tell them that.
You know, contaminated with some new shit, and when I go to the hospital, the doctors can't protect themselves. I mean, yeah, okay, like, that's tough luck for me, you know? Like, what can you do?
Yeah. That's honestly it.
I would say it's so rare. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what exactly would be a case? And again, like...
It's rare, but it happens. Like, let's say that you're in a... let's say there's a natural disaster, and then you run out of room in the hospital for new patients, and patients are coming... Like, you have to then... what's the word? I always forget the word. What's the word? Triage. You have to triage. Okay? In cases of triage, this is absolutely possible. Is he a medical professional?
Like, something like anthrax, maybe, or I just don't know. I genuinely don't know. Like, what exactly could it be that when you go to a hospital, they do not have the equipment?
This dude is disagreeing with the most tame shit on this list ever. I think that it is a good question. I think it's a really solid question as to whether somebody who is racist, like, I think they should be treated, but how? You know, like, how do we treat a person who is so racist that they're literally refusing care from anybody who's white? That's a great question, and one that could be hotly debated, okay? And honestly, I could flip either way on that. But the way that he's tackling this is he's literally just getting mad at these requirements. And they're very baseline requirements. Just don't be a racist piece of shit, and you will get easy access to care. Like, it's not that hard. Just don't be racist. Even if you're racist, just don't be racist when you're dying. Is it that hard to just not be racist while you're dying? Okay? It's really not that hard.
Again, maybe they don't have the medical equipment to treat you, right? So, like, you need a new kidney transplant. That they
said he graduated med school earlier. Okay, I knew it. He is a medical grad then. Like, he should know this shit.
Don't have the kidney. Okay, fine, but that's understandable. Where there is a conscientious objection. Was this a thing during the pandemic? Like, if you had the conscientious objection to a vaccine, did they allow you to not get vaccinated?
Nobody was forced at gunpoint to jam a vaccine into their arm. Okay? They were forced because the alternative was you don't get to go into work and infect everybody else. It's a very communicable illness. So if you're not taking the vaccine, you are opening yourself up to infection unnecessarily. And then you're bringing that into work for all your other work buddies to get infected, even if they're vaccinated. You can still get the disease if you're vaccinated. It's just a way, way lower chance. Okay? And because it can be so life-altering. You know, there are people, like my aunt literally just got her sense of smell and taste back. After 3 years. 3 years of not being able to smell or taste anything. Imagine that, okay? And that's because she got COVID. And people die from it. So yes, if you have the choice to not get vaccinated, and you also have the choice to sit your ass at home and not go to your job because you didn't get vaccinated. And you don't want to, infect everybody else. First time watching live? Welcome. Glad to have you.
Vaccinated? I don't know the situation in the UK. I know that there were places in the US, like the military, where they stopped caring. But yeah, no, the conscious objection.
I feel like if you're making the environment for the doctor as hostile as possible and you're of sound mind, you're more or less refusing care. I agree. Minus a psychiatric break, which is usually going to be the case if you're making the environment hostile, right? Minus a psychiatric break, you are literally just refusing care by making a hostile environment for your caregiver. After a certain point, you are refusing care. Now, if you're making little racist jabs at somebody, right? Like, you tell your black caretaker, like, well, you're so well spoken, or like, I didn't expect that from somebody like you, or something like that. Like, does that hit the baseline? I personally don't think so. I think that person still deserves care. But if you're literally saying, like, if you're threatening that person because they're black, then yeah, I think that qualifies, and you're of sound mind, that qualifies as refusal of care. You have now refused care. You're done. Goodbye.
Actually, it's something that we have here as well, like that, where they do not work on Saturday because of religious reasons. So maybe this is what constitutes a conscientious objection. Like, the patient is dying, but it's Saturday, so call someone else. Or there are other religious groups that do not consent to blood transfusion. Right? So you can save the patient's life, but they're like, nope, I'm not consenting. It's a conscientious. Like, maybe this is what they're talking about.
Yes, that's what
like,
they're talking about, man.
Talking about, yeah.
This guy graduated med school. Are you kidding me?
This is something that happens everywhere around the world. It wouldn't be specific to the UK. Where the client patient...
If you're repeatedly being racist towards your doctor, it will likely demoralize them and they will not be able to properly care anyways. I agree. After a certain point, the doctor won't even be able to care for you properly. Like, everything is just easy if you're not racist.
Is known to you in a personal capacity. Are they like judges now? Like, do they recuse themselves from treatment? To be fair, though, like this is something that's unwritten, but it's kind of acceptable everywhere, right? Because... for instance, if you have a surgeon,
okay, so he agrees,
and
with
they
this
have
one.
to operate on their son, but because of the emotional attachment, their hand is shaking, or because of the emotional attachment, they not make the right call. This happens. Like, there are a lot of doctors that say, yeah, okay, fine, but like this again, like adding these here next to these two ones is a little bit disingenuous.
Here, I got an idea. If somebody's being racist to their healthcare worker, you get them, like, you accommodate for them, right? Whatever you got to do, whatever. But then at the same time, you give them anti-racist, like, you basically just have a captive audience and make them, like, take anti-racism lessons. There you go. Make them, put on a video for them. If they're, like, literally bedridden, say, no, you're required to watch this. If you don't watch this, you're refusing care, right? And it's, like, anti-racism shit. I think that'd be fine. I think that's a good compromise there.
Ingenuous, because these are understandable.
Deprogram them.
Well, these are not excusable. Like, every other country in the world finds a way to deal with this, and you not dealing with it is not only cope, but it's more like the politicization.
Oh, you don't want to be deprogrammed? Well, you're refusing care
of the medical system.
Goodbye.
That's how I view it. You're becoming political. Other countries don't do this.
Can you do that? I think up to a certain extent. Like, okay. Here's the thing. If you have a cancer patient who's dying of cancer like, this is a very wild out there scenario, but just follow me. If you have a cancer patient who's literally dying of cancer, their only saving option is chemotherapy, and they're being a racist piece of shit to their black doctors and caretakers, what are you going to do? Let him die? My argument's no. Okay? But if you're going to save their life, you can, if that person has two options. One, they're refusing care and they die, which they can do because they're of sound mind. Or two, they can accept the care and also accept the deprogramming material, okay? Make it inconvenient for them to be racist. Just make the racism part inconvenient. I think that's fine.
Well, actually, no, never mind. China does it. No. China does it, but they do it differently. They do it based on a social credit score level. So, again...
Wait, what? I missed some of this.
But the way to deal with this... And you not dealing with it is not only cope, but it's more like the politicization of the medical system. That's how I view it. You're becoming political. Other countries don't do this. Well, actually, no. Never mind. China does it. No.
Wait, it's political to say don't be racist? That's not that's political now? Don't be racist? It's not that hard. Just don't be racist.
China does it, but they do it differently. They do it based on a social credit score level. So, again, as much as information as is coming from China, because, they are a very closed system. But from the information that I found in the press, yeah, like, you need a certain social credit system in order for a doctor to see you. So I guess this is the new system that the world is going to follow. Like, if you
This
misbehave,
isn't social credit. This is just saying don't be racist. Don't be racist to your healthcare providers. That's not social credit, man. That's just saying don't be racist. And I think it's fine to tell somebody who is being racist that they're required to take deprogramming classes. Yeah. And that way you're not racist next time you go to make it inconvenient for them to be racist. I think that's fine. Make it inconvenient.
Actually end up paying taxes for the NHS but not having the NHS see you? Where you are asked to do something
social credits
or
literally
in
mean
breach of the Nursing and Midwifery Council NMC code. I genuinely hope that this is the case, but after being through the pandemic and seeing a lot of shit, I have a feeling that if the government asks them to do something unlawful, they'll probably fucking do it. With enough constraint. Hopefully I'm wrong, though, of course. You know, hopefully
being a
I'm
gay
wrong that
doctor
this
is
is
being
not the
political,
case.
yeah.
But, you know, if you look at human history, and you look at a lot of the medical procedures that aren't being done now, but were done back then, oh, if the government wants them to do it, they will do it. But, again...
Wait, if the government wants them... Wait, what?
At a lot of the medical procedures that aren't being done now, but were done back then, oh, if the government wants them to do it, they will do it.
If the government wants them to do it... Well, there are, like, medical branches of the government, hopefully. Like, people who are in charge, like, who have medical degrees who are in charge of the legislation there. So this isn't a matter of the government telling... Like, it's usually the conservatives telling the medical field what to do. Which medical procedures? Yeah, I'm... Hold on. I missed... Let me go back. Hold on.
In breach of the Nursing and Midwifery Council NMC code. I genuinely hope that this is the case. Tax going to see you. So I guess this is the new system that the world is going to follow. Like if you misbehave, you can.
Oh, is he talking about lobotomies?
Paying taxes for the NHS but not having the NHS see you. Where you are asked to do something.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you live in a society. You pay taxes when you live in a society, and you can vote on where those taxes... You can try to vote on whether or not those taxes go toward healthcare, like if you're being denied healthcare access, but... Like, if you're being denied healthcare access because you're a racist piece of shit, like, you know, you're probably in the minority there, so... And people aren't going to be that sympathetic to you. So, like, you know, like I said, I still think you deserve healthcare, but I don't think that people of color deserve your ire either. So we have to find an in-between somewhere. Like, we have to compromise, and it's going to be very inconvenient for the racist. It should be inconvenient for the racist.
Something unlawful or in breach of the Nursing and Midwifery Council NMC code. I genuinely hope that this is the case, but after being through the pandemic and seeing a lot of shit, I have a feeling that if the government asks them to do something unlawful, they'll probably fucking do it. With enough constraint.
That's not how that works.
Hopefully I'm wrong, though, of course. You know, hopefully I'm wrong and this is that.
No, doctors don't make medical decisions at the behest of the government. At least they shouldn't, okay? If the CDC is saying, hey, we need to wear masks, the CDC is like the head of... There's the Center of Disease and Control. The people who head the CDC are doctors, okay? Or people with medical degrees. People who know their shit. Okay, so they are like the leading branch of all the hospitals. Yes. So yes, the hospitals are going to do what the CDC says. It's not like government versus medicine. It's that medicine should be part of the government. You're thinking about this all wrong, man.
Not the case, but, you know, if you look at human history and you look at a lot of the medical procedures that aren't being done now but were done back then, oh, if the government wants them to do it, they will do it.
Yeah, he's talking about lobotomies.
But, again, hopefully
it's really stupid.
I'm wrong. Anyway, regardless.
Yeah, your government mandated lobotomy. Yeah, that's a thing.
The oath that I took didn't include the discrimination based on racism or fear of physical violence or any of the other things. No, like, there are ways. Like, if you don't know how, look at Eastern Europe. We will teach you. It's fine. We will teach you.
Okay. In America, at least, I know he's not American, but in America, we learn as a healthcare provider, if you feel that you are in a dangerous situation that will put your own health at risk, you have the right to leave that situation. Okay? You have the right. Like, let's say that you're a caretaker for like a 13-year-old child with mental health issues, right? And that child takes a knife and starts swinging it. Guess what you do? You run to the bathroom and lock yourself in. Goddamn everything else. Literally, goddamn everything else. Like, you run to the bathroom and you lock yourself in it and you protect your ass. That is what you're taught to do in an emergency situation like that, okay? Even if you're risking the health of your patient, even if you're risking the health of other people around you by not intervening. You're not the one risking their health, by the way. You're just protecting yourself because you can't go forward and take care of other people if you're dead, okay? So if your safety or health is at risk, yes, you take care of yourself first. That's responsible. This guy would call that weak. I would call him an idiot. What, you're gonna confront somebody with a knife? I don't care how old they are. I don't care how, like, if they're 13, 12, whatever. It doesn't matter. They have a knife. They'll kill you. If you feel like you can constrain them, sure, try it. I'm not gonna try it. Hell no. That. No. Like, I am locking myself in the bathroom, period, end of story, and I'm saying, I'm calling the police. I'm saying, well, maybe not the police, but paramedics at least. Police, I feel like, would just try to shoot them in America. But, you know, I'm going to call what resources I have available to get that kid out of, you know, my safety. Okay? Make sure I'm safe first. That's why on the planes they tell you, make sure that you secure your own mask before you help somebody else. Because guess what? You can't help somebody else if your own mask ain't secured first and you passed out. Okay? So this is just stupid.
We have doctors that they can teach you how to treat people that are racist.
Don't confront somebody who's violent unless you have the tools to do so.
With violence, it's okay. It's okay. If you lack the appropriate equipment, maybe we can help. You know, we can help the NHS. Maybe, you know, we'll see. Very, very disturbing what I'm seeing. I hope I'm not understanding it. I hope that maybe I'm wrong. But
I would love to speak to this guy.
In the press, it's probably true, isn't it? That I am interpreting it correctly. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section.
I would love to speak. I think that, like, it's not that he's not interpreting it correctly, although okay, so the biggest problem with this one here is that, like, the most contentious one is whether or not you, like, somebody who's racist is entitled to care, okay? And I think that throughout this whole thing where I've been fumbling my position left and right, I think that the most logical solution is to provide them the care that they need, one, and then also require them to go through, like, anti-racist training. I think that's fine. And if they don't agree to anti-racism training, then they are denying care. I think that's a fair compromise. I think that's a fair trade-off. Because you just make it, that way you disincentivize the racism. At the same time, you're not denying them care. You say, here's your options, okay? You can either go through this anti-racism training. We'll get you a white doctor. But the compromise here is you get your white doctor, and then you have to go through this anti-racism training. And it takes, like, a few days or something. You know, and then you got to take a test at the end of it. And you don't, like, you have to pass the test. Okay? I think that's totally fine. That way, you get them the care they need, and you also disincentivize the racism. I'm sure that's not like the perfect solution, but that's the best one I got right now. That was the most contentious thing here. The rest of them I agree with like 100%. I just don't understand, like, if somebody is conscientiously objecting care when, you know, you don't have enough competence or training to do the care. Like, this is all reasonable. Romanian TV has a lot more subscribers than I do, so, you know, I'd be interested in talking to him about it. I think that we could have an honest conversation about it, hopefully. He's a healthcare provider. I'm a healthcare provider. We're from different countries, but, you know, I think we could at least come to a few agreements here. So, I don't know. If he sees this, hit me up. We'll talk about it. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, I really appreciate any financial help that I can get. Go to youtube.com/AlecGunterTTV/join. You got some awesome benefits, such as seeing early videos, awesome emotes that you can use in the comments of YouTube videos, and a sweet badge next to your name. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd really appreciate if you join. It is cheaper than the cost of a blowjob from your mom. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.